Aiden Caldwell, Dying Light 2's main protagonist, is at this point a very mysterious figure with a background yet to be discovered. Though as time goes on, more hints are revealed as to who he is and why he's the main character of the story. At first glance, you may think he's just like the protagonist of Dying Light 1, Kyle Crane, since they both have experience in parkour and combat, both are infected, and they may even be fighting for the same thing, the cure to save all. But there is one big difference between the two, and that is their inner monster. Kyle Crane holds on to his humanity dearly throughout the story and does whatever he can to avoid turning. Aiden Caldwell, on the other hand, while still trying to avoid turning, can use that all to his advantage. During an interview between Polygon and Techland's creative director Adrian Suzeski after E3 2019, we learn of one of the main things the press at the time forgot to pick up on, being a key aspect of the main character. He's almost like a Jedi, Adrian says, and continues on by saying you can stay without the UV light. If you stay in the darkness for a certain amount of time, it is an opportunity for you. To put it more clearly, the infection can trigger hidden powers that allow Aiden to become more than human, and with those powers the creative director says players will be able to go places and do things that normal humans can't. Around the same time of this interview, there was another interview between VG247 and the game director at Techland, Mark Albanet, where the game director said, as soon as you're infected and you go in the dark, in fact, you need to be under a UV light to stay, I'm going to say, normal, Albanet says. So as soon as you spend too much time in the dark, which means during the night or inside dark zones, then your infection level will rise. In the first Dying to Know episode, we can see gameplay of Aiden at night where we can see his biomarker is red, so here he might be inhibiting some of the infection skills. Albanet in the same interview also goes on to say, the higher your infection level, the more powerful you'll become in terms of speed, power, and stamina, but if you reach a certain level, you'll turn into a zombie. VG247 asks Albanet if this means a game over once that level in the dark is reached, for which he says close to yes. Now this isn't the most straightforward answer, so they ask if it means it's not game over, for which Albanet says, no, let's say it's game over. So, of course the devs aren't going to be giving away all the possibilities as to what this could mean, but it does get me thinking. We haven't heard anything officially about this feature since E3 2019, though we have gotten more hints as to how Aiden has dealt with it throughout his life. We know Aiden at some point when he was young was with his father, and after he saved Aiden's life he told him to never forget who he was and where he came from. Though around when Aiden was 5, he was being tested on by the GRE along with his sister Mia, who later gets separated when a fire breaks out in the hospital. A lot of this video is theorizing and simple assumptions besides the main facts the devs have put forward, so just keep that in mind as we progress. If Aiden's father is still a part of the story, as that plot point could have been scrapped, I think their father was forced to give them up in some way to the GRE, government, and whoever is conducting the research experiments on the children. Aiden states they were looking for something during the testing, and I believe that to be Aiden and maybe Mia's inner abilities, inner monster, whatever you want to call it. In the present with Hakon, Aiden finds the hospital he was once experimented in, and that could be when he has that flashback with Mia, where there's this black dreamlike border fading around. Some of the drawings here probably made by the children with messages like let us out, they see us, and weird eye and hand prints show us the mysterious struggle all the kids went through. Some of the handprints have marks slashed through them as well, maybe to signify those children were killed or disappeared. But one handprint though is black, maybe showing there's a black sheep or outcast, whatever you want to call it in the group, that clearly stands out among the other children. And from what we know, it makes sense for it to be Aiden. Though, for all we know, there could be a twist where Mia's sisters, like the actual Sente Volatile, the family, or, it's really hard to say. But I'm just gonna say right now, it's probably gonna be Aiden, if this even means anything, that is, because we don't know. Another thing to take note of is on the wall it says X15 is a trap. I assume each child probably had a code name to keep things organized in the lab, so like in the movie Logan, all the children who were experimented on all had X code names, with the main girl being X23. So maybe Aiden was X15, or it could just stand for a location, it's hard to say. Once Aiden's sister was revealed, the devs constantly said that finding his sister will be the key to understanding him and his past, and hopefully to me, allow us to understand the secrets of the Caldwell family. There's a reason Aiden and Mia were picked by the GRE for their abilities, maybe so they could be utilized. Maybe Aiden and Mia are the cure, well partly since they can still turn into a zombie, but it would make sense if the GRE or government wanted to use the children and raise them as weapons. It's just an idea, but with the way the GRE acted the first time around, it only makes sense for them to try to weaponize things once again. They're just that type of antagonist, I guess, and hey, maybe we'll finally figure out what was fully on that GRE file. In the 2019 gameplay demo, this is the first time we see a dark zone meter, let's call it, that shows your level of infection. Now, as the devs have said, the longer you wait, the more infected you become, but the more abilities you can get, such as speed and strength. Once the meter reaches halfway, you reach critical immunity, which also might be where the enhanced abilities can be seen. Also, a second before Aiden reaches critical immunity, he gets 4 bars added to his health, which my friend Chromatic said could be a perk. During the moment Aiden pulls out and throws down the flare, it stuns the infected, but you can also do a finisher to these infected as well by the look of this button symbol, but that's not for sure, so let me know what you think, because that's just my guess. It could have something to do with the enhanced abilities, but there's really nothing to prove that, plus we don't really know how far these abilities can go. For all we know, they could be to the extent of sentient volatiles. Aiden in some way may be connected to them. And spoiler warning for the following expansion for Dying Light, but the ending of the following sets up the existence of these half-human, half-monster beings that can telepathically communicate and have non-human abilities, like strength and speed, while still retaining their human mind during the day and in light. During that sequence between the mother and Kyle Crane, we never really learn if there were any more sentient beings besides herself, but the mother does mention that Kyle, since he was breathing in the blue mist given to the survivors by the cultists, worshipping the mother, he's already turning into a monster such as herself. So that could mean all those people that were there that day with Kyle became sentient volatiles, though, as the mother said herself, drinking the liquid is something else entirely, so they could have just turned into normal volatiles. Now, there's really nothing else to focus on here besides if you want to see more sentient abilities that may pop up in the future. So, the main difference between the mother and Aiden is that the mother has no complete control of herself in the dark as she murdered her friends, but Aiden can stay just fine, though at a certain point after staying in the dark for so long he'll, I believe, mutate and can't go back, which is where the game is over and you have to restart. I don't think Aiden is going to get a tentacle that shoots out of his arm, or a loud ear-bleeding screech, or the ability to jump super unhuman-like into the sky, and yeah, we already got that, alright, but not to the extreme like the Night Hunter, which is where I was going to get to. Anyways, I do think there's a lot more to what the devs have told us, and it's just a matter of time until more secrets are revealed about our main character, and how he could be connected to the events of Harran. So, the question of the video, is Aiden Caldwell superhuman? Yes, technically he does have enhanced abilities, but we're yet to see his true infected skills. Kyle Crane had his survivor sense, for example, and that's kind of the only example we got to work with, but everyone might be different. Survivor sense hasn't been confirmed to return in Dying Light 2 yet, so Aiden could have another ability, or 2, 3, 4, we'll see. But I think this feature in general is going to add a lot to the game and allow for the story to take a big leap. It definitely doesn't seem like a basic story for sure, definitely not as basic or mediocre as Dying Light 1. Sorry for them Dying Light 1 hate, but it's true, the story's kind of mediocre. But the following definitely stepped it up though, and I'm excited to see how the ending of this connects to Dying Light 2. There's a lot to explore here, and let's all hope Techland takes advantage of that.